Well, we are going straight into it, Eeply. This is it. This is our beginning of our day 3 here at I-63 Birmingham NEC Arena. And we're going into our first game, our first map with the SVIFT versus the Elektro. Let's see what's going on mid, maybe. Camera guy, productions, people. Hello, video game. All right, you're going to have to just tell me what's going on. Radio style, Eeply.
Okay, we're going to do it. Well, there was some early aggression on mid. Pappy has got taken down after a nice little bomb there, but SVIFT is actually getting really deep into the side of Elektro. Actually, some nice little shots, and Connor's taking down Eames right at the end. I mean, super scrappy at different points there, but ultimately that is going to be a SVIFT win, and Condog living. We're going to have some nice Uber advantage moving on to second. I'm not quite sure exactly how Elektro managed to get themselves into such a nasty situation there, but we do have this Uber advantage. We do have this very, what should be quite a comfortable push into last. We've seen SVIFT, you know, take some good position on far left when Elektro has been not paying close enough attention, and, you know, I'm not sure if this this gun and this heavy is going to be enough to deal with this Uber if they can manage to walk in left possibly for free.
Yeah, so they're just staying quite basic here over on this last defense. They have Ubered in now already on the side of SVIFT. They do take out the sentry gun quickly. No attention really being given to Scruff, however. I can see him kind of being a thorn in their side, as that was kind of a very poor push coming out from the SVIFT there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they managed to take a little bit of position, but then Funds, he runs on a point, and there were still stickies there. He dies, and you know, you have that scout die before really the rest of the team can get in. There was no opportunity to get cap time. There's no opportunity to get anyone towards the point, and, you know, Aura played slow, and this allows them the opportunity to walk straight out.
Demos is forced out from his Uber there, and he will try his best to pick up the pieces with it, and they sadly
so Chris
do not
has actually
find the
jumped
kill.
all the way onto last.
Oh, the back cap though, the back cap evilly. Oh, that was so close.
That was a super close 1v1. Chris does win it anyway, though, so he is going to be a little bit annoying behind. And with Condog's Uber coming up in only a few seconds, this might be a really good opportunity for Chris to pincer behind Demos as he tries to leave. Well, but no.
He got pincered as Nevo knew he was still kicking about back there. I mean, the soldier's not going to disappear once you block that back cap. So very patient play coming out from them to actually find that soldier and then get their defensive positions.
So we're starting to see this movement towards grass with this Uber advantage. Only about 25%, but Demos and his team, they will be respecting it. They'll be moving towards lobby, and it does look like SVIFT should be able to take it for free. Quite comfortably, really. Doesn't really look like anyone's going to be contesting them too much. Nope. There we go. So it's going to be a nice free take for SVIFT, and it is going to go to an equal Uber stalemate here. Yeah,
usually the threat of the Uber is just enough to kind of force teams back. I mean, especially on these sort of second to last point exchanges, because it's just so hard to kind of hold a point without actually committing so much position in, and you don't really have that safety net to deal with a Uber charge.
No, we do see some nice little spam towards Shutter there. Smith seems to get a lot of position there. He takes down the gun, so this is an opportunity maybe for a sack if they can keep this gun down, you know. But unfortunately, as soon as Chris goes for it, he's going to get stickied, and Smithy's going to get taken out by a sentry. So they tried for a double sack. SVIFT not quite finding it in just yet, but they can walk back on the second. They can force Elektro to try and do something here. This is one of those situations where you've got to really have an idea. These solo sacks aren't really going to work it. And the idea apparently they have is to send Scruff behind, but Chris is going to find him. Chris is doing his job. Smithy has spawned on Sniper, so he's going to be a little bit careful, but you've almost got to think, does leaving Scruff behind here really mean anything? You know, surely SVIFT can just walk forward with their sniper, take some position, maybe on the left-hand side, if they can deal with this soldier and just, you know, start taking pot shots at Demos.
Yeah, they do send one player back, so effectively it's just turned into a 5v5 right now. So I'd imagine there's just going to be a little bit of patience coming out from SVIFT. Not only have they got the sniper to play off the kind of stalematy time, but it's just not worth kind of delaying Chris in the push there.
No, we would say we do have Scruff finally finding his little 1v1, but unfortunately Funds is the better man today, only by about 5 HP. So, okay, that's a frag. We do have our sniper up. This is a perfect opportunity for maybe a double sack. You can maybe move your sniper towards drop down, which is exactly what's happening. See if he can get a pick, or at least force his medic into a more difficult position, which is where he is exactly.
Samzy, he had an eyesight on the demo man for a moment there. He is the body shot king, so if you can get that 150 concentrated damage onto the medic.
Oh, the conch has been popped off. And actually, Gink is just running straight into lobby with his Pala. Zunis is just crushing Swift. That's Chris, Smear, Pappy all taken down. And yeah, that's pretty fantastic. But importantly, Condog didn't force off this Uber. And actually, where is Smizzy? Smizzy's behind in lobby.
Yeah, this is a bit awkward. He was in the drop-down area, and as he was just hiding there, the push came in, and they didn't even know he was there.
Smizzy!
Oh, the body shot master finds the demos, or I should say the medic, of this on the side of Aura Elektro. So the body shot master delivers always.
Yeah, so this is going to be, you know, it can't be more than 100%, but it's as much Uber advantage as you could possibly want here. And if Swift can start moving fast enough, they can walk through before the Aura Elektro team is going to be fully buffed. I don't think they'll be quite that lucky. So I think, you know, it makes sense. They can delay a little bit and just wait for Smizzy, their spawning scout, to make his way up, make his way to them. And now they're going to start moving through left. Again, they've managed to get really far without using this Uber. There's a gun they have to deal with, but that's fine. They've used their Uber now. Losing Chris is going to be a problem, but there's so much cap time they're getting here. But now they lose Smear. Now they don't have Stickies on the point. It's going to become actually a really scrappy fight, and they can't really rely on point that much. So many players are getting forced to point, but it's Funds that they have to deal with. Nevo and Gink pairing up together to at least force Funds out onto second, who is going to hook up with Condog, but that's another failed push.
Yeah, Gink even switched off to the shotgun there, so it's just a soldier with that little more unexpected firepower to him. So it made defending that last point with what seemed like a numbers disadvantage like a little bit stronger.
Yeah, so again, this is an opportunity for Aura Elektro to make something happen. They've got a bigger advantage, but they know Swift have been a big fan of these flanking plays. Chris tries to do exactly that. Gets only about 40 damage on demos. No Uber's going to get forced off there. And actually, Pappy's playing really close. He actually jumps straight in. He does force off demos, and he might even live from it as well. Yep. Smizzy does headshot Gink along the way, so it's not looking too bad for either team, really. It's coming down to a few quite dodgy little 1v1s, and, you know, oh my God, Smizzy.
My. Oh my God, Samzy, that's not a body shot. Those are some disgusting headshots coming out by the German. And let's see if he can continue the streak. He's still got the sniper rare in hand, so let's see if we can get another just headshot on the board. Oh, he misses. Caster's curse.
It doesn't matter too much, you know, there's so much advantage. Really, if there's a last push to win, it's got to be this one. They just need to play fairly patiently. They do lose Funds again, but they are getting some significant frags from it.
2 frags from the boy, and they are making a good go with it, but he's he turned the tides of that fight just enough to get their first round on the board, and that's Swift's control for this map. They've got that first round, and now they can play it from their side of the map.
Yeah, so really important. They've got this first round. They can play a little bit ahead, but you still got to question some of these Swift last pushes. They're not looking as strong as and as coherent as you'd expect from a team like this.
Let's see if they can kind of improve things over on the second point. Swift were very commanding last time on the mid, so let's see what they've got in store for them on Aura Elektro. They're kind of think about probing them with Azunis in that kitchen area, but does back out. Gink is on the back line though. He's got a nice sort of bomb or kind of jump onto Connor. Sadly, Connor will kind of navigate away from it, and this allows just the rest of Aura Elektro to kind of like come in and take the free space, but they've been backhanded by some counter initiation from Swift, and they're still on the chase here. Pappy wants to find this medic kill. He's jumping in. He gets Demos low. Demos is going to go down, and now with just Eames alive, he's going to be the one that's probably going to get some equalizing kills. He gets the kill onto Funds. Smear is backing out. Gink almost finds him, but Smear gets out before he has that chance.
Yeah, nice little follow-up there, and they will manage to get just a little bit advantage for the side of Swift because of Condog's much earlier death, and really with Demos just only spawning. No, I was going to say it was possible that Swift would be able to start walking towards second before Aura Elektro's buffs really got on, but I think they got a slightly unlucky spawn wave, so this will be only a little bit advantage for the side of Swift, but if they build hard, it's always an option that they can see at least what kind of space Aura Elektro will give. We already saw in some previous pushes, there's a lot of respect being given by both teams. They're not playing super close, you know, they're not trusting in, you know, their medic and their Uber reading absolutely perfectly. So, I don't know, I think this is an opportunity for Swift to try and take something for free, and it does look like they want to walk towards grass. I mean, look at how far back Demos is. He knows he's got disadvantage, but it does seem very fearful considering how small it is.
Yeah, Samsy does try to get himself behind in that lower door, but he will get cleaned up, and there's just a bit of overextension coming out, and they really want to cap this point. They will block it. They popped off the Uber. Sadly, Scruff did miss that Uber, so he's not going to be part of this fight right now. With all the numbers over on Swift, they could probably just stick around and then try and claim back the second point from there. They even cap it in front of their very eyes over against Elektro, and they're forced to go back to the last point easily.
Yeah, it was really good stuff from Smear and Pappy to kind of scatter as soon as this Uber faded. The only really important player that Condog needed there was funds. You can move at scout speed, you can have that 185 scout to deny anything that's going to chase you. So all Elektro saw that and they were like, okay, we're going to have to give up second, we're going to have to stick onto our last. It's equal Ubers, you know, there's going to be some opportunities to make stuff happen. They don't need to overstay their welcome.
I'm trying to think, who do we need to rise up from Aura Elektro here? The one that needs to take reins, be the space maker, be the playmaker for this squad and get back. Because with this control now, this one round up, they could kind of just keep this very defensive, almost not like parking the bus, but only play off the mistakes, the clear mistakes that Aura Elektro are going to give them.
Yeah, and we do see Nevo sniping, so it's going to be interesting to see just how he maneuvers himself around the map. There's a good few angles you can see here on Snakewater, you know, either into lobby or kind of into low, or, you know, there's some decent chances you can get, but it does usually require some good support from your team to save yourself from kind of getting spammed out by these soldiers. And Smizzy is actually, he's getting a lot of information for his team. It's not, you know, important damage or frags or whatever, but he's getting the information. He's working out where this Aura Elektro hold is, and I think, you know, it just seems to be that Aura Elektro gives up so much space on this left-hand side from the attacker's point of view. I mean, look how far in Pappy can walk before Azunas can finally jump forward and try and deal with it. Chris, he's actually skipped in. He's going to be jumping in really, really deep. He might actually, yeah, he will get Nevo, but this double sack won't be getting the force, which was ultimately the goal.
Yeah, but a little bit worried, still a back-capping potential from Swift here. They've got both of their scouts up, but Deraman to boot with that pain train can cap that last point before they can really react if they don't check all their doorways.
Yep, so we will be getting Nevo spawning again. They're still going to be sticking there on the engineer, and importantly, Chris is going to be on the spy. This may be the first big spy play of this day 3 of I-63. I mean, you know, spy's always going to, it's always going to have a much higher percentage chance of working at land. You have the noise, you have the, you know, you're not able to make those same kind of reads, that same kind of, you know, just trusting in your headphones, trusting that you're going to hear that decloaking. So, you know, if it's going to work, it's going to work at land.
Plus, people can see your hacks as well. You have to turn those off. Real shame. But Chris is just kind of playing security camera right now, waiting patiently for his recharge plate to come back up. It's recharged now, so he's going to go in. He's already brought valuable information to his team. Did he get shot there?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think that was Scruff purely by chance. Yes, Scruff knows a really just completely random shotgun shot has found Chris. He's not going to die, but they now know 100% Chris is on spy. So this is going to make it so much more difficult for him. He's going to need some kind of distraction from the rest of his team to really stand any chance of doing anything. I'm
not sure if they got him exactly, but I think Chris was just spotted out by like a spy checking all the classes earlier, just having a quick look at the disguise kit, seeing if Chris was playing that spy class, because that's what a bonus little function you can do as a spy in the spawn. So Chris has gone into position now, but oh, the scout! Nevo just felt something in his gut, but what do you do?
So now we're going to see if Azunas can do any better. He is on second. He's dodging just as much as we saw Scruff doing, Chris doing just moments ago. So again, he can get this information. He can tell his team exactly where Condog's going to be holding with this Uber. There's the opportunity to go for some kind of, you know, big sack play for something, you know, just to provide a little bit of a distraction. But, you know, I'm not quite sure if these teams want to rely on this purely kind of one-man kind of play. I feel like they need something. They need to force either kind of, you know, catch Swift as they're moving into lobby, or catch Swift, you know, when they're dealing with just something else.
Oh, he's decloaked. Now he has to kind of put his best blue impression on. He does get a nice buff. He's one of them. He's one with the blue team right now. It's 7 versus 5 in the server.
Are you serious?
He is none the wiser. Connor is looking him in the eye. They do figure it out. There's a mystery man amongst us, and they can't find him.
He's just an absolute ninja. I think he just got about 200 heals pumped into him. You have Swift players shooting him while he's being healed. That's madness.
My own medics don't buff me so much. What is... All right, well, no harm, no foul. It's going to just be a regular game of TF2 again. But Swift aren't going to know this. They're going to be paranoid. They're like, he's still around. He still could be spy, trapped in our like territory. So they're going to be a little bit paranoid on the blue squad. But eventually, as more time's passed, I think they're going to assume that he's gone back to spawn.
Yeah, especially now that they can see he did peek a little bit towards left lobby before returning back to spawn to just check some classes and head on the sniper now. So, like I said, it may still play a little bit in the back of people's head, but Swift now, they do get a pick. Right, Gink down, one soldier missing. That's really, really important. Again, this left side will be quite open, possibly lower as well. They still have to deal with the sniper, but the second that first shot gets taken, they're going to know.
Yeah, they're trying to claim right side for free. Azunas is the only real lifeline to stop that from happening. Nobody really wants to commit in. And because of all this bought space, they've just taken a sentry gun. Bonus dispenser as well. And that's some easy sort of kind of building blocks for their push in. But because they stick around for so long, Scruff realizes he can just switch off the sniper, get some free pot shots. They've got no cover if they come into the open like that.
No, see, it was a good opportunity. I can see the logic behind it. Deal with the gun, send Pappy in, but when you get domed mid-air like that, there's almost not a lot you can do. So we're going to be continuing with this Equilibra situation. Scruff peeking forward, trying to get some good damage. He does hit one headshot, but both Scruff and Nevo, again, we said yesterday they were just a little bit overextending in situations, and this is not the situation you want. You're on your last. You can't really afford to give up too much space. Now, this swift push through left-hand side. They've got so far in without having to use the Uber yet.
Funds won't go down immediately, though. Didn't see the Gink rockets coming. I think a little greedy for the team. They realize they need to do some damage into that blob if they want to kind of deter them from that point. Chris jumps in, gets the Scruff kill, doesn't find the demo kill. So hopefully he can still make this push happen over on this Aura Elektro squad.
There's definitely some kind of poor communication going on, especially with Funds right now. I think it's about the third time they've tried to push last, and he's basically died right next to the point. This is really the worst thing you can have, having a scout die early, but Aura Elektro is trying to make things happen. They're getting a lot of players actually towards the point. They're not fully committing with their medic just yet, but he did take a lot of position. It was an opportunity to try and do something, but smartly, you know, they lose one player and they walk away before kind of things go from bad to worse.
Yeah, they're just having a tough time, both of these teams, of just cracking each other's defenses. I wouldn't be surprised if like this, the round timer starts kicking in. It is sitting at like 3 minutes
Oh,
now.
there we go. There's a bomb in. Yes, that's going to be the force onto Demo. Scruff, he does pick up actually Condog on the other side. I didn't even see that, so that's going to be a drop for him. So as much as I thought things were finally going well for Swift, as soon as it does, Aura Elektro's right back in it.
Yeah, you can tell it's a very shocking sort of medic drop when we don't even notice it at all. We're busy paying attention to so many things going on. It's the last thing we should be expecting from these players in this game, but then again, it is Connor in this game as well.
Super, super clutch from Scruff there, so they now look like they want to start taking some position on the second. Chris is the first guy they've got to deal with, and they're not really managing so far. Pappy now raining so much damage onto Choke. Yeah, these, you know, there's so much damage and so many frags going the way of Swift, and, you know, with only 3 players alive now for Aura Elektro, this is Swift's opportunity to walk onto second. It's actually not impossible to catch demos at this point, and with Pappy jumping super, super deep, no, they won't go for the pick. They'll lock out Aura Elektro, and they'll at least play a little bit patient for the second. This tiny advantage for Aura Elektro, I can't imagine is really going to be enough with how slow their spawners are.
Yeah, they're getting a bit indecisive during the pushes over on Aura Elektro. This is what's stopping them from making these pushes happen, or especially when they kind of go in now. It looks like they're fully committed in. They're really going, pushing all the way for this one. There's no sort of second guessing here. Sadly, they don't find the kills they were looking for just yet, as a counter Uber will come in. The counter Uber's finding nothing though. It will find a few kills finally now kicking in, but the post Uber positions are so much better from Aura Elektro here, so it's still going to be a very hard point for them to defend over on the Swift squad. They've got 2 scouts battling it up. They're going to feel a lot of damage though. Gink and Pappy has actually come back to the fight. That's how long this fight has been going on. They will fight them back, but they have to cap second again.
So really, really well played from Condog and his 2 scouts there. You know, Condog stayed behind his scouts just long enough to keep himself safe. His scouts just stood there on 185. They're such a difficult class to deal with, and playing on that height, really, there was only so close Aura Elektro could get. So really, really well played there to guarantee Condog has his Uber advantage. And, you know, we've seen a couple failed last pushes so far, but you've got to think by now that Swift is going to be cracking this.
Yeah. And back to the original square, that little bit that they can't seem to get past on. There we go. The Uber actually will come in now from Swift. They've got to delay a lot of time if they want to entrust that Demo's Uber will come up for this defense, and I don't think they even need it. Some second guessing coming out from SVIFT perhaps. They're just not really deciding to go for point or go for players either, and because of this indecision they are going down very equally. Fortunately though, Connor has kept himself alive. He's running away back with Smear, and Smear's trying to set up some stickies, any sort of defenses to kind of kickstart some sort of just like delay of second point capture.
A nice little airshot from there, gink onto Chris there, so pretty good stuff. But yeah, these Ubers for SVIFT, I'm not really quite sure how they're managing to fail these last pushes so many times, but I don't think they care about last just for now. They're going to keep fighting to keep hold of their second. They aren't going to get another chance because of how late Demos did use his Uber there. So, you know, again, this is the fourth chance. I mean, eventually they're going to make it work, right? If this keeps happening, SVIFT will eventually make some kind of play on last, which will end up giving them another round. I think it's Elektro which really have to find a way of not only holding last well, but getting this second without, you know, losing too many players, because that seems to be the way they're really failing.
Yeah, they are just kind of, they will take out the sentry gun again, overwhelming the right-hand side. Colin just pops. He pops immediately. I guess he's scared of the Nevo sniper, and they will back off. Scruff's in the corner, and they don't actually want to commit too much attention to him. They will finally do it now, but all that Uber has been wasted by the Fat Man. And Eames, he's being pressured out. He will switch off class at the last moment. Sets off his stickies as well. So clutch coming out from Eames there. Holy Christ.
That's absolutely insane. How do you hold that? I mean, again, everything looks so good for SVIFT, but Elektro just, they managed to make it work. And now, again, I mean, we have Condog, he's sitting on 20%, but he's almost all the way on mid now. And this is Elektro's opportunity to walk on the second. I think the only thing that can be in the head right now is just don't get forced. Don't get forced, don't die to something stupid. This is their chance to find it. You know, they can, there's no reason why they can't just go coast to coast here.
Yep, this is finally the breakout point that they were kind of playing for the entire game, and it came from the back of a very, very clutch play from Eames here. Pappy and Chris will go behind though. They're seeing if they can get maybe a back cap going. They're both in, and one back capper has turned up. Chris is a little bit late to the party. He's finding a health pack. They do have ×4 on the point still. Chris will decide to actually go back and block the midpoint, give some time to Pappy, but Pappy's just one man. He needs an entire army if he wants to get that back cap, beating that ×5 cap on mid. And because of this now, he's done a great mistake. He's behind enemy lines. He's good as dead to his team right now. And Elektro knows this. They are getting the cap on this second point really quickly. They're even probably going to get the cap at last before Pappy joins in.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a full commit from the SVIFT there. It's kind of difficult to really work out what was happening. Pappy now getting picked on the backlines, and his Uber coming up for Connor. No, he will get forced from a nice little bomb from Azunis, a spot which he just didn't check in time. So yeah, the Uber will get a couple frags, but as soon as that happens, that is Elektro getting a couple more back on the side of SVIFT. They did lose demos though, so that's super, super important. They can't rely on these long heals, so if they're going to fight, they've got to fight right now.
Yeah, it seems not everybody wants to do that though. At least they're taking their time to get back to that point where they can threaten Connor's life. 3 people went in to go for him, 3 people decided to stay on mid. They really need to commit one or the other.
Does seem just like there's a few too many mistakes coming out of Elektro to really manage to bring themselves to SVIFT's last. As much as SVIFT, you know, they've been failing some pushes. They have had map control for almost in the entire game so far, and you know, it's 1 round to 0, but there's only 6 minutes 30 left on the clock. It's obviously nowhere near impossible for Elektro yet, but if they haven't done it in 20, what do they need to change to get it done the next 6?
Well, let's see if they can actually handle this mid push coming out from the SVIFT as 100% Uber. They can kind of just use the threat of this Uber alone to scare off poor Elektro, but they're seeing if they can just find any sort of 3 spam, 3 kills. Azunis is of course going to try as a roamer to force out that Uber from Connor, and with his life going down, that's a concede of the midpoint from Elektro.
That's a really, really nice take there from SVIFT. You know, they managed to get a completely free mid just based entirely on, like you said, the threat of that Uber. So now they're sitting there, they have mid control, this is equal Ubers, and they know that so far Elektro haven't really been able to make too many fantastic things happen to gain themselves an advantage. It almost seems like...
Demos, he's been forced out. The bomb coming in from Chris there. Nobody spotted window or looked out for window, but I mean, can you call this a force where you just get 3 kills just like that evenly? I think that you can just call it a good Uber.
I mean, well, 100%. It just seemed like there was some kind of miscommunication between, it must have been Condog and Smear. I mean, there's no way, even if they walk forward, there's no way you don't trade there with your demo man. So definitely something didn't go right there, but Condog didn't use, he didn't get himself forced off, and now there are a lot of Elektro players which potentially might just get cleaned up here. Actually, this bombing from Azunis, so much damage on the Condog, but he is going to live 20 HP. What a surf.
Yeah, it was a couple of poor rockets. Connor was none the wiser to this bomb as well. So I think if the rockets were just a little bit crisper, it would have been a drop coming out from the Englishman.
Yep, so we do have that 9% Uber on the side of Demos. They can contest this point just as soon as they get this Uber, as long as they don't lose too many players early. So far, it does seem like there's most of the fight is happening on the high ground. This pick on Pappy is going to be really, really important. If they can get Chris as well, it's more or less going to be kind of curtains for Swift taking this mid, and they have. And yep, you see Chris going down. Swift has recognized this. They've got to move all the way back, and you've got to think, do you maybe just back up to last here? You have the Uber, and your spawners will be up in time to hold last, and yeah, Swift are going to do that. They're playing, you know, there's a world where they can go for a trade on second and try and delay and get their spawners in, but I think they're happy with their one round. They're content to just take fewer risks right now.
Yeah, it's just way too risky really to try and go for the point play. You'd have to have a lot of confidence in your team, and plus Demos does have that Uber as well, so even if you find the perfect scenario where you drop him, I don't think you could even justify enough firepower to kind of go in and clean up all the kills.
Exactly as we saw Swift doing to Elektro. We are seeing some movement towards the left-hand side. Very, very nearly taking down Chris for a second.
Oh, King gets kind of slapped in different directions by a barrage of bullets, pills, and sentry gun, but he will go down, and Connor will not pop off that Uber.
No, so you know, I think I always feel like we may have had enough of some of these one-man sacks. They just don't seem to be working particularly well, and when there's only 3 minutes left to go, we've got to see something better. We've got to see something more coordinated from the team. I like these far left pushes, but it does seem to be that both teams, once they get in, they'll take a little bit too much damage, and then they'll just lose a frag, and then they've just got to back out again. Yeah,
I mean, I guess it's down to the caller. If Ging goes in and feels like he's not feeling it with that jump, he's not going to call in for assistance. They will pop in the Uber now, but they've actually decided to force out the Uber instead of dealing with this sentry gun, and they're being heavily punished for it because of that sentry gun's unusual spot there. They just didn't really see it coming, and they had heavy gunfire from one direction and sentry gun fire from the other.
Yeah, really important as well. Smith did some fantastic body blocking onto Eames there, preventing him from actually being able to leave, but Azunis, I think he wants to just try and go for a back gap, but with Chris spamming rockets, no, there's no way at all. So it's all going to come down to this fighting on second, and Gink, Azunis going down this flank from Pappy.
Well, I expected more. Like, I really expected more. It looked like a really nice position, but they just turned around and double meat shot the lad.
This is true. You know, it was a good chance. He did the damage, and hey, you know, now Demos and his friends, they're sitting on mid. It's going to be only a tiny bit of Uber advantage. Their players are just only up now. Timing, you know, time is starting to run out. Timing is an issue you have to deal with. It's 2 minutes to go. They're going to start moving towards grass, but Condog, he's playing on Balk. He's 95. He's going to get it in time to deal with this point. It's so dangerous, but Elektro feel incredibly pressurized to make this push.
Man, Pappy's kind of tripping over the logs here as he will go down. They will pop off the Uber aggressively over on Swift to kind of hold on to the second point, but he just gets counter-initiated. They're chasing really hard. You can't leave. They won't let you over on Elektro here, and they can definitely secure this last point. You've already got Eames setting up stickies on the right. One soldier will resist, though. That's Pappy. He gets the Eames kill, but can he really kill 3 players on his own? And he cannot.
That was absolutely perfect from Elektro. You know, we've said it before. The easiest way to push last is to have a dominating second, and that is exactly what we saw in that post-Uber fight. Perfectly played. They catch Condog, they catch almost the entirety of Swift players right there and lose next to none of their own. So this was exactly what Elektro needs, and with 1 minute 10, I think they may be thinking, hey, let's win this mid. Let's go straight to last. 2-1, next map, baby.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that has woken me up tremendously. I was feeling a little groggy, but now that TF2 is just kicking into my veins, and Eames they're feeling it right now. The mids are actually going the other way. Swift were dominating these mids, and Elektro have just found that sort of thing that works for them.
Yeah, I feel like you could see from Condog's position just then, he was so far back. They have so much fear right now. It's 40 seconds, and you know they're going to be completely heartbroken if they lose the map like this.
You can feel the tension in the air. Swift have lost to a round like this before, and it's been made some great Twitch clips. I wonder if we'll get a part 2 to our Aura, Elektro, and Swift kind of clip show as they're going in now. Samsy will get a full brunt of that Uber, that defensive Uber, and they're going to back off. No frags really being palmed here. Apart from Eames, actually, that's a massive kill for Pappy to get out of a disconnecting Eames.
It's so important. With 10 seconds to go, they've got to deal with a 450 HP heavy. Pappy will go down to Nevo, but no, this heavy Smizzy's doing so much damage. That's 3 frags for him already, and potentially a 4th, and no, this will be 1-1, and our first map of the day is going to Golden Cap.
Yep, usually you need your demo man to kind of be there and like take out the heavy weapons guy. He's the only one that has like that firepower to actually take him down from that 450 health to 0, and without him, it was just too hard for them to do.
Yeah, I mean, that and just the fact that with the demo man, you can put stickies around point. You can, you know, have one of your players move a little bit closer and just force them to walk on the point. That concentrated spam as they try to defend that capture point is so good. And, you know, I think more or less any player, including Demos there, if they had lost him, that repush would have been, you know, there would have been a decent chance of it working out. But without Eames, he is that linchpin.
Yeah, and I said it was going to be close. I can't believe it, but it's just, it must be a little bit disheartening if on the side of Swift, because this is your map pick.
Yeah.
You have to say to yourself, like, what's the best map we have our chances of winning? And you pick this map, and now it's a tie?
Well, it is, but it's not just the fact that it was a tie. The way that they tied, like I said, like Swift, they had map control for ages and ages, and it just seemed to be so many of these last pushes they just threw away. They had so many opportunities to make something happen. In a different world, that could have been about a 4-0, about 15 minutes in. They had so many tries, but they're just not making these last pushes work. But I don't know. You got to hope that this isn't going to get into either team's head. This is going to, you know, you have to, I think, treat this as just a completely fresh new map. Don't have to worry about anything that happened last time. You know, you can focus on working out exactly how to do your last pushes, maybe at a different point or something. You can talk a little bit about it, but I think, as we've seen before, it's going to come down to your mids. And I almost think when you look at that kind of mid, with how passive Condog was playing with his scouts, I think they need to be a little bit less afraid of Aura Elektro. I get that they don't want to lose, but when you send your soldiers forward and trust them entirely, you know, it's a lot to go for. But I actually think we're going to be going straight into this Golden Cap right now.
Let's see. Only one team can walk away with this map. There is no ties here in the lower bracket, so Golden Cap will be our decider on the Snakewater map, and let's see what they can do. They're kind of just playing it patient on both of these teams. Zunis bomb will come out now. Pappy tanks a majority of it and gets a nice couple of crossbows, and it's like the bomb never even happened. They are trading roamers, however, for both of these teams, and without this initiation power, it's going to look like a long, slow slog between these two teams. See who has the better focus fire in this overall fight. Gink is brought down very low, and he might actually go down. Oh, the crossbow wasn't quick enough. Gink was probably begging for that little health pack in the arrow, but he did not find it. They are playing with a slightly better advantage, like some better positions over on Swift. Chris is in from the flank as well, and they will actually exchange Ubers. It's been going so long on this midpoint, and I think they're going to have to give it up here to Aura Elektro. They just have more bodies here, unless Chris can equalize that.
Yeah, I mean, Funds and Smithy, they do seem to want to kind of chariot their way a little bit in. Chris is behind. They can do some kind of pincer, but it really is all on these Swift scouts to make something happen, at least deny some high ground or hopefully get some frags here, perhaps on
Chris is jumping in. He's on top of Demos, and he will get the kill. He will go down, but they've got the heal advantage over on Swift now. The only thing on the mind of Aura Elektro is we need to kill that medic. Where is that medic? And he's all the way back in Sawmill. They saw this coming, but because they don't want to come out and play, they'll kill everybody else equally.
Yeah, I mean, that was so smart from Condog. You know, they can afford to lose that position on mid for the sake of keeping your heals alive and keeping your players around you, but the problem is he didn't have his players around him.
Yeah, his players, he was just so disconnected, no heals could be dished out, and so Connor will kind of walk away with a bit of advantage, but is it really worth it there, equally?
This position from Scruff is a real one-and-done kind of spot, and thankfully Smear's been checking his corners. He knows what he's doing, so that is going to be a player down for Aura Elektro, and a big Uber advantage for Connor. Again, it would be fantastic if they can take this mid for free without having to use a tool. And possibly even start walking towards second. Demo's
Oh,
going
Demos.
down. Chris, what are you doing?
Oh
That's
my,
insane.
They were focusing so much on trying to spam out and get the force out of Connor. They didn't really recognize that Chris was sneaking in the back line trying to get to Demos, and this is going to be a round loser if it actually keeps up this momentum here, Mapley.
Yeah, one of their only hopes right now on the Elektro side is going to be Scruff sniping in spawn. He opens it, he gets his chance,
Oh,
but
he
no!
gets just the Samsy.
Oh my God!
My God! My Lord, Scruff! We thought you'd missed it, but he just took a second chance, and that was unheard of here in this sort of forward spawn. Usually you get one shot, but Scruff takes two.
That's absolutely insane. That's got to rival Alba's shot of yesterday right now. That's truly insane sniping from Scruff, and just like that, he brings Elektro right back into it with uber advantage, with even this chance to retake second now.
Dear Lord Swift, the first one was a warning shot. Why did you not take the warning? And now with the time 7 cap, they want to still hold on to this point. They are hard trying to grind them away. The Ubers haven't really entered the fold. They're so low on the side of Elektro. Despite the huge play, the big picture is still going to go towards Swift. They're already on last point, and they couldn't cap that second point to block it.
What a round. I mean, such a great plan from Swift to recontest that. Even after that disastrous drop and that incredible sniping from Scruff, they just felt like they had that better position, and in that repush they just dominated. So fair play to Swift, but insane stuff coming out of Elektro. That was so close.
You've got to admire the confidence coming out from Swift after a play like that. I'd imagine people aren't feeling too pleased in that mumble. You probably just want to leave the server, let alone leave that point of the map.
Yeah.
But no, they thought like, it's okay. We've we've lost our medic, but we'll have the heal advantage. We have the positional advantage. A few more frags went down during that fray. We can just make the repush in, and maybe this kind of played into Elektro as well. Maybe you got too much confidence. You're like, oh my God, we got this massive clutch kill, and then they just kind of suicide into Swift.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, you know, in those situations where something like that happens, where some kind of play of that magnitude, you know, it's really tempting on the Swift side to just kind of sit there and be like, oh, I can't believe it, you know, oh, you know, what's he doing? How does he hit that? This, that, whatever. It's so good of them to just, frankly, keep it calm, keep it quiet, you know, shut all the, you know, extra comms out and just go, right, focus on what we need to do now. We can still win this. This isn't, you know, we don't even need to really lose the point here, and, you know, fantastic read, and yeah, maybe I feel like it was just maybe Elektro just getting a bit ahead of themselves, not playing quite as safe as they could have.
And yeah, and that was just our part 1 of a possible part 3 of this one lower bracket game. Our semi-finals are getting so just good now. The TF2 is just increasing in sort of just like spectacular nature that I don't think we can handle it on our own equally.
No, I mean, I'm so glad this game is happening today instead of late last night, because I think everyone was, you know, everyone was a little bit tired. You know, some people were already thinking, you know, oh, when am I going to go back? When am I, you know, going to go to the bar, whatever. I'm so glad people aren't missing this.
Yeah, well, I know a couple of people out there who haven't missed it, and that is going to be our little couch team. We're going to head on over to Grumpy Koi, Ombrag, and Dum Tum to kind of break us down from that game.
Thank you very much, Turbo and Epley. My name's Grumpy Koi, and we're back here on the couch to do a bit of an analysis for this game. I've got Ombrak and Dum Tum with me. How you doing, guys?
Pretty good, pretty good.
That was one hell of a game once again. It really seems like our Elektro is always just as good as their opponent.
Yeah, our Elektro have been one of those teams where not a huge amount of people are like kicking and screaming about them. They're not getting as much praise as some of the other teams, arguably, but I feel like they're very consistent. And they've done some really good work. Eames put in a lot of work that game, and I feel like it was really down to the wire. A couple of missed decisions on that golden cap, but all in all, really good performance from both teams. I feel like Swift were just able to cap it out just at the end, you know, get behind some players and just catch them off guard.
It says, I think Epley mentioned it during the cast, it says Swift lacked a bit of synergy between their combo, between Smeary, Funds and Condog. And sometimes it happens, but the enemy team doesn't really use that to their advantage. And the way that Elektro played that in their favor, the fact that Funds was kind of disconnected, it was really impressive. And it's good to see that Eames is able to, because they had a hard first day in the invite group, or Elektro, they nearly got sick, and somehow they used that to be better as a team as a whole, and to I'm sure they just understood what their weaknesses were on the day 1, and now you can see on day 3 they're still here, and the way they play is kind of impressive.
Yeah, much more settled at Elektro now compared to at the start of the division. But what we've got for you is we've got some logs that we can just have a quick look at. We can have a quick look sorting by damage. We see Eames at the top, not too surprising with Gink following. I feel like Eames did a lot of impact, like I mentioned earlier, just with his area denial and working with his team just to catch out whoever he could. And I feel like that paid pretty nicely. 17-7, not a bad KD for a demo. I think it's generally been pretty well. What do you think? Either of you?
I would agree with the point previously made that there was definitely a lack of synergy on Swift combo. I talked a little bit with Smither yesterday after their games finished, and he mentioned that most of the issues in this tournament so far have been coming down to just like too many calls. Everybody just calls everything. They tried to simple it down for the last game, and they managed to beat out Feint, which is a great win in itself, but it seems it's not entirely fixed here. Especially in the last push, it was just a little bit all over the place. Smither himself not having quite the performance you would expect out of him as well. So maybe just that all the calls are on him now, maybe just worsening his personal performance a little bit.
And if you look at the logs from Smeary, he had a couple of rough games yesterday, and here again he doesn't really shine. Him and Fonz, I mean, we mentioned how both Fonz and Smeary had a hard time playing together, and the logs just show that. The best damage player in Swift is the roamer, it's Chris. So and they had control for most of the game. I mean, they were pushing Elektro's last for quite some time. So the fact that your roamer is the one with the top damage kind of says a lot about how you get. It kind of says what your flows are. And the good thing is, yes, Swift has flows, but it's really easy for them to identify these flows and to work on them.
Yeah, another pretty obvious one, just straight off the bat, Demo's corner. The depth difference is so huge for a tight scoreline. Going into a golden cap that was still really close in the end. The conversion of just these advantages was just not good enough, and a lot of those obviously last pushes since we spent so much time on last, but even elsewhere they just couldn't often do enough with it. Demos dying.
I feel like that's a good point with Ombrex spotting out of Chris doing the most damage for Swift. I feel like there was a lot more plays onto Demos and a lot more pressure onto him than Connor necessarily. I feel like Elektro were playing a bit of a longer game, trying to clean up players in front of themselves, trying to clean up members of the combo, you know, catch out Smeary and Funds, you know, trying to get on Pappy, get those players out of the way before trying to deal with Connor. Whilst I feel like it was a lot of sack plays from Chris that were coming out of Swift. And I think that was their main mentality, was trying to use the med pick to slow down Elektro as much as possible. But I feel like Elektro have this little bit of an advantage because of the fact that Eames, Nevo, Scruff and Azunas have played together for quite some time now. They've been on the Elektro roster for a fair few seasons, I believe. It's at least,
I think around a year.
Yeah. So they've got this little synergy that not many members of this this entire I series really have. Like, I'd say arguably 7 to a degree have that. But I'd say one of the most consistent rosters is the Elektro roster. Like, if we had Eskimo on there, I feel like it would be something that we've seen quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think even though Elektro lost the first map, this is really good for them, because I've talked to Swift a bit after their last game yesterday, and they were kind of happy that against Feint they stepped up, and they were happy with how they played. So without saying they were going into that game against Elektro like with certainty they will win, I think they had some confidence going into that game, and just winning out of a golden cap that was kind of lucky. It's gonna hurt them, and I think for Elektro there's a lot of moral confidence to find in that game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them going into Sunshine. I think it's the second map, going to Sunshine with a lot of confidence and that extra mental boost that even if they love the map, they really know what to do to annoy Swift.
Could we get just a quick confirmation? Was the Snake Water, was that a Aura pick or
no, that was Swift.
It must have been the Swift pick. Yeah, Elektro, I think they only lost to Froyotech on Sunshine, I believe. Everything else they won against every other team. They are going really confident into Sunshine. They practice it a lot, probably the most out of any team in this tournament. Where Swift barely practiced before LAN, and obviously not Sunshine either.
Didn't they play each other as well on Sunshine already?
I believe so, yeah.
And I think Elektro won like 5-2, so quite convincing win.
I think when I think of Elektro and I think of Sunshine, I think of Azunas and the way Azunas likes to play this map. He's very confident with this map. You'll see him a lot during mids. He gets good placement on top of Tetris or the enemy cafe. He creates a huge problem for the enemy team. He does some really good big bombs as well. So I feel like that's one thing that they're going to kind of come into this, is they're going to work with, you know, the mid's not that demo-centric, so they don't really want to work around Eames. They want to work around Azunas and Gink and what they can really create out of it, and then let Eames kind of take it forward as they get into second and into last. And
one interesting point that Smirre mentioned as well when I talked to him was that they looked back at their game against our Elektro, and especially the mid-fights, to see what went wrong, what our Elektro did right on these mid-fights, and they tried to learn from that. They tried to adapt it into their play against Feint, which also went to Sunshine, and obviously it went much better there. So they learned from their mistakes and from their opponent they're playing here again. So it would be interesting to see how two similar mids will clash in the end.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like we've seen Pappy and Chris in the last season of ETF2L do pretty well together. They've got good synergy. I just feel like it's all about, especially on Sunshine mids, it's all about watching what the soldiers do and what opportunities they create. Once they've created that space and that opportunity for their team, we're going to watch the scouts go in for the cleanups and stuff like that. It's kind of like quick early damage from your demo, and then it's all down to the plays your soldiers make. I feel like we will have a very close game.
Should be.
Shall we? Let's go for predictions. I like getting your ideas. So, go with you first, Tum Tum.
I'm saying it will be a little bit closer than last time on Sunshine. I say 4-2 or Elektro.
4-2 to or Elektro.
I think it's gonna depend on how Gink and Fons play. Gink, you mentioned Azunis.
Yeah.
And Gink is really hard to read because he can run shotgun, banner, and gunboats. And we talked how Fons was out of sync with Smirre.
Yeah.
And now Fons needs to be in sync with Pappy and Chris, because you mentioned the mids are really soldier-centric. So if one of these two players step up, their team's gonna win it.
Yeah.
So I don't really know who's gonna take it. I want to say Aura Elektro again because of Gink mostly.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be really close. I think 1 round difference, maybe something like 3-2 or 2-1.
Yeah. I feel like the mid fight, the first mid fight, will kind of set the pace and the tone of the game. It's all down to kind of, I think if it's really scrappy and it ends up like, you know, like only 2 players left for either team or 1 player left for either team, and it ends up in a 1v1 sort of scrappy end of a mid fight, not convincing. I feel like that's going to set the pace for the whole game, unless we get something where SVIFT have completely changed their mentality of the map and you know, made sure that they can win by just cleaning out and sorting out the Elektro bombs and soldiers. I feel like that they may run away with it, but we will see. But anyway, we're actually going to find out now, because we're going to throw it back to our casters, Turbo and Eeply, for the second map.
Don't ask me what's going on.
Hey, Eeply, how's it going?
Hi. Very smooth. Smooth.
Okay, they don't feed us here, okay? Right, don't judge me, okay? Twitch chat. I need to eat, okay? I need to drink.
You do. It's okay, Turbo. You're going to have plenty to feast on as we see what I'm really hoping is going to be another absolutely fantastic map. I think, you know, we've just had our couch talking about their little predictions, but I want to know what you're expecting.
I'm expecting something along the lines of like a comfortable win for Elektro, just by the fact that they've made Snakewater so close and they were quite dominant on their Sunshine map before. So I feel like it's all going to come down to Azunis, though. Maybe he's just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. So if he's having a rough game, then expect a very close game. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a comfortable win for Aura.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty decent chance that we end up seeing both teams kind of win their own maps, and it does kind of end up going down to this decider, which always makes things like pretty interesting. You know, effectively it just comes down to like a best of one then, and then it's really just like, you know, like all bets are off. You can just do like absolutely crazy things. Incredible amounts of individual play can come into it. But I think if I'm SVIFT, there's a reason why they let this map through the draft.
Yes. But I don't know. I mean, Sunshine is not so much of a wild card map as it used to be. Players are getting used to it around about now, and I think you can kind of just realize if you're a team that's like strong against it, or like if it's like just a regular weaker map of yours. Not so much as a wild card based on, like, say, Viaduct, where it's just always going to have that sort of status just by its sort of like weird game mode. But yeah, I feel like Aura Elektro have got this in the bag.
I think it's going to, yeah, I think Swift's going to be really looking to just try and take this in 2 maps, get themselves in preparation for what would be a game versus 7. But yeah, I think it's going to be so difficult. And when you see performances like that on Snakewater, I mean, it came down so close to the end.
Sorry.
Are you eating Banny?
It tastes so good.
Does it? It can't, Turbo. It can't. That can't be good for you. This is what happens. This poor man's living on about 3 hours of sleep. He's gone crazy.
Okay, so talk to me just about Sunshine in particular. Is this map going to lean itself to a particular class, do you reckon? Grumpy was saying that demo men aren't going to feel quite as comfortable on these midpoints as they find themselves on other maps. Is this all true equally, or do you think like there's something else to it?
I think the demos are going to have a significant impact. I think a lot of it is going to come down to soldier play. You have a big skybox, you have some big bombs and some big high ground you can take with soldiers. And we did see on some of those fights on Snakewater, the soldiers from Swift just moved just a little bit too far away from Condog to keep getting healthy. I think the difference between the second mid and the golden cap mid was kind of, night and day for Swift. On the second mid, they sent, both their soldiers really aggressive, and it was kind of like, Pappy in particular, he was so far gone. Chris is kind of almost expected, but Pappy was so far over the point that Condog couldn't really do anything to help him. On this golden cap mid, they played just a little bit more conservatively. You saw a lot more of kind of Pappy moving around and then moving back to a position where you can get arrowed again. And, I think Condog must have pumped about 300 heals into him, which he does generally have space to do that. His healing isn't fully taken up when they play these kind of passive mids. So I think if Condog can kind of corral his team around him, there's no reason why they can't do pretty well. I mean, from a scout point of view, it's obviously a good map for scouts as well. I still think, Funds and Smizzy should be winning out overall. Scruff and Nevo are doing really, really well, but I think it's less an individual play. It's more a team play issue for Swift right now.
Is there any sort of cute plays we can expect out of a map like Sunshine? Is there anything really neat that Sunshine kind of facilitates while other maps don't?
I mean, in terms of if you have equal Ubers on last, there's some really, really good stuff where, it's kind of common on a lot of maps, but you kind of, you can trade Ubers or, somehow kind of get Ubers out of the way and then repush with a heavy from top right. It's such a powerful position because as long as you can get through that top right without taking too much spam, that heavy now has high ground. And the point is still relatively close to him, so he can just be incredibly annoying, preventing anyone from jumping onto you, and with that kind of almost bit of protection from that behind point area where a lot of the defending team will end up getting stuck, it can be really, really good. In terms of, kind of general things like Sniper is always going to be good on certain maps like this. There's even kind of things where you can go for demo sacks on Sunshine last. You can, sack your demo through lower or right, whatever, and then have your heavy standing on second, again, with the high ground. And they've got to push into a heavy 450 HP with high ground. And then best case scenario, it'll be a trade anyway. So there's a lot of different things you can do.
Production.
Production quality.
Yeah, so we're just waiting, twiddling our thumbs. You have to assure that we have all the players here, they're just not starting. I think what's going on.
I think maybe just some last minute little moments to calm down. I mean, if I was Swift already, or you both teams really need an opportunity just to calm down, to talk things over. That'll kind of be what the last few minutes have been about. But I guess it just has to be some last little things. I guess, or Elektro, if I was their team leader, I'd be sitting there being like, okay, so we lost Snakewater. What a way to lose it. It was so close, and it was almost just one real kind of misjudged push that loses us the map, but that was incredibly close, and that was Swift's pick. Or Elektro got to be sitting there being like, okay, boys, it's all about the confidence. This is our map pick. We pounded them on Sunshine yesterday. Why not just do it again? And on the side of Swift, they've got to be like, they've got to be the same. They've got to have the confidence. They've got to be like, okay, so we lost yesterday, yeah, but was that the real us? Was that the us which is going to show up today? As long as we can play how we're supposed to, which I don't know if necessarily they did on Snakewater, but, if they can play how you'd expect a team like Swift to play, there's no reason why they can't contest this and possibly just win this out in 2 maps.
Do you think that Swift aren't feeling a little bit comfortable coming into this map? Do you think they've just by ipso facto of it being so close, they don't really have a momentum gain in coming into this Sunshine map? Or do you always get a little bit momentum just for winning it, even just?
Yeah, I think just a little bit. It just means you have that bit of a safety net where in the back, like obviously you want to win. You want to win every map you play. But in the back of the head, there's that whole thing of, okay, if we lose this, we still have another map we can play. It's not actually the worst thing. You know, it isn't like if we lose this map, we get knocked out. So it's a little bit, but at the same time, it isn't as much as, you know, if you'd won it like 3-0 or 3-1 comfortably, at which point, you know, you're top of the world. You're just like, oh, you know, we're just way better than them. We're dominating them, you know. We're making them have to, you know, try and make things work against us. I think it's going to be a bit, but, you know, you would hope Swift isn't complacent, because that was not a clean win. That was incredibly messy, and it almost came down to a coin toss at certain times.
Yeah. You did mention something about pressure, and sometimes, yes, it kind of does downplay some of your performances, but sometimes those rare players come along where they like the bit of pressure. They like things coming down to the wire. And do you think any of these players in the server kind of benefit from pressure, or would they much rather like not think about it?
I think high pressure situations, you're going to see players like Funds really kind of, I think he's the guy who, you know, Swift's a very passionate team, right? They tend to be quite loud. They tend to be, you know, kind of very opinionated on how they want to do things. So as long as they can keep their comms relatively calm, then I think pressure's a really, really good thing for them. I think they like that ability to just be like, okay, we want to make things happen, and then once one thing starts, you know, going a little bit well, then they can just like steamroll forward. It's all about that initial bit of inertia.
What do you prefer coming into a LAN, Eeply? Do you prefer an emotional team that feeds off the sort of hype or just the sort of atmosphere, or do you want a calm team that's always just going to be stone cold and think things very tactically through, coming even at a LAN setting?
Well, calm team's always going to be more consistent than a hype-based team, but, you know, sometimes they can have a bit of a lower peak. Yeah, they're more consistent, but they're more kind of middle of the pack, whereas with like real hype-based teams, sometimes you can have just a shock of a game, and, you know, everyone's just really down about it, and just, you know, it's gone absolutely disastrously bad. But sometimes it could be a case of, you know, 1 or 2 minutes in, you get a round, and then people are feeling it, and then the next thing you know, about another 4 minutes later, you get another round, and you just go from strength to strength. And it's that old thing of you know, the way you see a lot of teams play, the way you see Froyo play online when they play with Shade, they've got so much confidence. The way they move around the map, it's almost as if, you know, they're seeing that all 6 of their players are saying, we're going to win this. We don't care. We know we're going to win this map. And as a result, you force those other 6 players to be like, I think they might. I think they're going to. Playing with real confidence, getting that hype, and just getting that, you know, we've got this in the bag. It's such a strong thing as long as you can kind of control it and not let it go too far.
Yeah. So what do you reckon that these two are kind of feeling at this LAN then? There's one like a more calm team, is one a more emotional team. I have my guess at Elektro being more like the emotional team. That's why they're probably doing a bit better this LAN, because they're kind of feeding off it a bit more. Whilst I feel like Swift are quite cold, really. They've been sort of masters of their field, kind of going through the ropes, and they've done this so many times before, like, yeah, LAN is exciting and all this stuff like that, but they've probably gone through so many of these pushes or know all these experiences from their heads alone that they don't really get too hyped up about it.
I don't know. I feel like Swift has a lot of the hype as well. Yeah, you have some quieter players, like Smear tends to be, you know, a little bit kind of quieter, a little bit kind of, you know. Actually, ignore all of that. I think we're going to be going straight into this first mid.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our second map of our lower bracket semi-final. It's still Elektro versus Swift. Swift are on the match point here. If they can win this map, they take the entire best of 3, but Elektro have got to beat them on their map choice to kind of bring it to the best of the third map.
Yep, so we're going to see some movement. Both teams playing towards kind of their own right-hand sides, and deep bombs come in, dealing a lot of damage onto Smear and getting that important frag. But meanwhile, Funds and Smizzy have been running forward, crushing both of the soldiers from the side of Elektro. And with Scruff and Nevo moving really, really far to the side, really, really split apart, he will eventually get onto the hills, and this is becoming a little bit of a 3v3. It's kind of Pappy versus Eames, really, when it comes to the real spam. They have to both play very, very patiently. Nevo, again, still straying a little bit far from his team, whereas Funds is just completely next to Condog this entire time. But it's so difficult, really, for Pappy to take any more height than he's currently taken with Eames' stickies, and is actually almost going to be just kind of stalemating out until the spawners from both teams do actually come in.
All right, I guess it's time for mid number 2, and they will actually pop off the Uber during all the sort of Mexican standoff between these two halves of the mid, and there's a bit more of a blob forming from Swift Gaming, so it leads me to believe they will win this mid comfortably now, as they're a bit scattered, unless this bomb works out well for Gink, and it does not.
No, it's really nice of Swift to just play a little bit slow. Again, Fun's just right next to his medic, doing everything he needs to as they wait for that spawning Chris to come in, where he immediately forces demos, and then, hey, we've got full Uber advantage on a very, very scary second. And it actually even looks like Elektro is going to lose a soldier here who's just getting caught towards Valley all by his lonesome. As long as he can't make anything huge, yeah, that's going to be a Zunis down as well. So player advantage, Uber advantage. It won't be forever, though, so they kind of need to leave one scout and just start moving, because demos, he's already on 80%.
This is going to be a very bad start for Elektro. They're actually already Ubering in, not even giving them a moment's breath. They will take out the sentry gun before the level 1 even turns into a level 2. They're cleaning up a few kills here, despite demos popping off his Uber, and they're trying to make some chase onto some of these fleeing Swift players, but they can't seem to get a kill.
Yeah, this left-hand movement is so good. They're taking so much positioning and dealing so much damage. Chris, 2 frags already, and they're forcing so many players towards a point as they're capping it, and this repush is just so good.
Yeah, comfortable start for Swift there, and a bit uncharacteristic because usually they're so good Elektro on this map. I guess they've done their homework over on Swift.
Yeah, I mean, it really was night and day. The patience that Swift showed on mid was fantastic, and that timing on the repush, kind of leaving through lower, not losing any players and walking straight to left, was exactly 100% what they needed.
All right, Smear versus Azunas, and then there will be Smear versus Eames. And actually, Azunas decides not to jump in immediately. He's going to play a bit more passive this time, play that spam wall with his team, and the positions are looking a bit dire for Swift here, as they're kind of just holding back as much back as they can back off, as the S keys are being punished here over against for Elektro now. The health is a little bit worse for wear for Elektro, but I don't see any major follow-up here. Nevo's trying to kind of buy some space for his team by going aggressive, and there you go. They just feel too kind of worried about how this mid was turning out, losing 2 players against the one of Elektro, and just decide to just back out.
Yeah, it was really just incredibly slow. Both teams playing really patient, but kind of not having any fantastic engagements either of them. It always came down to a little bit of spam and a little bit of cleanup, and now Gink is trying to jump in. He's trying to get something done, but really nothing much is going to happen. He's giving it a go. He does get a little bit of damage on Condog before dying, but not enough. And now Nevo's dying before this Uber's even getting used by demos. I have no idea how demos and Eames is so far in, and yeah, I mean, they do manage to pop off this Condog Uber, but I mean, if I was demos, I'd be running for the hills at this point.
Yep, and running for the hills they are. They are back on their second point already, but they could think about coming back into this midpoint. Keep in mind, if they block this midpoint, if they keep taking trades, they've got that respawn advantage, but they're not going to humor this idea. They're going to stay back on second, play it safe.
No, that's it. They were 1 player down, so it would have been a little bit risky, but with about 5 of the Swift players playing right next to point, you could almost think if they hit the right spam, it could be enough, but I don't think, you know, it's still 25 minutes left in the game. Elektro is not looking to take crazy risks. They're happy just to stalemate out a second and just see what they can make happen here on Condog, the Swift medic.
Yep, even Uber's a piece. I'm kind of looking towards Azuna. Oh, actually, it's Gink. Gink is in, and he's almost getting a rocket.
Oh,
Connor will take out down to the rocket as... There you go, 100% Uber advantage for demos now. They just need to kind of wait for Gink, wait for Scruff to come back for the resupply, and then they'll make their push. Yeah,
something definitely went wrong for Swift there. I mean, Gink just lived for so long. I'm absolutely baffled he managed to reload and get that last rocket off, but, you know, that's got to all be in the past for Swift now, as they've got to try and deal with this full Uber advantage walking through Valley. They can get some decent amount of spam, but they've got to be really careful not to lose really any more than 1 player, which should be this Pappy soldier jumping in.
The drop on the demos. They didn't see Pappy. He was flying in the sky. Superman will come down like a meteorite and take out poor demos.
Yeah, Pappy being an absolute hero, kind of bringing things forward for his team, and now Smizzy's actually behind, taking down Eames all by himself, so this is suddenly looking pretty good. But no, the second there's any advantage for one team, Geek comes in, Connor smeared down.
Yeah, they could think about maybe getting a bit scrappy. If Scruff can win this 1v1, he could commit to the mid and cap off that mid point, but with that 1v1 kind of lost that. Oh, they even reconnect up with his scout buddy Nevo to take down Samzi. So both of the scouts gone for Swift, and this midpoint can definitely get contested.
It definitely can. Yeah, Fun's just only spawning now. Smoothie's still about 5 seconds away. It does look like Elektro want to move towards this valley position, try and take, you know, some space in, but with Chris now jumping behind, they've, you know, it's almost like there's a timer on what's going on here. How long before Chris's back cap will do something, or his flank? But it doesn't really look like Swift want to actually block this point. And yeah, with Fun's dying as well, I think Chris being behind is almost one of the worst things.
Yeah, they actually do send Gink behind to deal with Chris as well, so even if he got the back cap, they probably would have killed him off before that really had a chance to solidify into a last cap as well. So we're back over at the last over against Swift right now, so it's interesting to see how they'll approach it, this last point over on Elektro for the first time in this game.
Yeah, I mean, they did have about 20% advantage. There was a time to go, but unfortunately there just wasn't enough players with the demo man Eames and his medic, so this will be going to a bit of a stalemate, and it's going to be, say, a little bit, actually no, picks are going to be completely equalized, so this is just your bog standard equal Uber, possibly seeing an off class from Gink to counter what is what's a couple defensive little off classes for Swift.
It looks like they're sticking with the cookie cutter lineup as both of these teams just trying to find holes in each other's sort of defenses, and I can see the patience leading a bit more towards Swift, and naturally so. They don't want to kind of leave gaps in the defense just to try and make things happen. It's really down to Elektro to make the push here.
Definitely is, and with this Sentry and this Pyro playing so close to Condog, it's really going to be this left-hand side where they're going to be able to do anything, and they do take down Chris and at least force Pappy away, but there's no real jump you can do from there, which isn't going to get completely thwarted by this Pyro and this gun combined. But actually, Smizzy's walking really far into lobby. He's not quite playing with his medic. Yeah, he's getting some damage, but it's a little bit risky of a play. I mean, he's trusting a lot in the rest of his team and this Sentry, but now we're seeing an Uber trade actually getting used really early, and Smizzy's Pyro is actually doing a fantastic job. I think Condog maybe necessarily didn't quite have to pop there. Almost a bit of a panic or something I didn't quite see, but with Chris going down now, I think this is Elektro's time to do a repush exactly as we saw Swift do just moments ago.
Yeah, you can see the disadvantages of Pyro. He lacks a bit of mobility. Couldn't really chase down that soldier just jumping out to another doorway. They do have Funds, and they do have the battalion's backup. That's going to make Funds just extra tanking. No way can he possibly go down to any sort of minor strikes from a non-Ubered Elektro.
Yeah, definitely that banner coming in really handy there. So I'm not going to say that was the only thing which allowed them to hold it, but definitely made that hold much easier, allowing them to keep all 6 and giving them this opportunity to walk out based on this player advantage. So some scrappy fights going towards point, and an incredibly aggressive Funds walking forward. He does take a lot of damage before reconnecting with Condog, but there's soldiers everywhere.
Oh, Condog, what are you doing? He actually got to the high ground and they jumped back down and went into the rocket of Elektro, and with Connor and Demos just one dead, one alive. They are the only players that can cap that last point, and there's no respawners coming for a long time, equally. What a casual last cap.
Yeah, I mean, same as what we saw in Snakewater, really. It's, you know, if you dominate second, you know, one wipe there and the spawns just won't be there in time, so Elektro just eking it out a little bit, and you've got to think, if Condog didn't, you know, accidentally fall down there, maybe things would have been different from his
he
team.
did that on purpose. He thought he was being clever there. He thinks he's playing a game of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but he should be surviving, not grinding off of rails and stuff.
Well, definitely not what you want to see, but now on this third mid already, we're seeing some early aggression from both Pap and Chris, getting a little bit of damage. I would imagine both teams, they're not going to play quite as passive this time, as Elektro move much closer on the left-hand side. They're taking a bit more of an initiation, as this fight on the flank will result in Chris dying.
Yeah, Gink has a choice here. He can take the long way around and go for the flank against these two scouts and the medic, and I think that was the incorrect decision. He kind of isolated himself in no man's land against those two scouts, and Connor does keep himself alive, but it makes me wonder if Gink kind of reconnected with his team and just bum rush these scouts and medic. What can they really do?
Yeah, I mean, it's two 185 scouts. It's definitely something you've got to be a bit afraid of. Condog does get forced to use his Uber, and Demos.
Oh, Demos, the milking man. He will milk this Uber for its worth. Funds will probably go down to this soldier. Actually, a scout cleanup. Chris will equalize his little friend dying, as Chris will go down as well, but not before he takes the life of Nevo. There's still Smear on this last point, but it's only Smear. I wonder if we'll get a 1v1 here. Gink versus Smear. He's going for it. He's attempting it. There's just
Smear. No, the old man clutches it himself. He's been in the game since, I think, almost, the very conception back in 1950 or whatever it was.
Wow.
But he's still got enough to go with these new boys.
Azunis is going to go down, trying to get some plays going on second point whilst the rest of his team is respawning. So not the worst thing in the world for him to go down, as they're just sitting on 30% each on both of these teams. And I don't think, even with 5 players just on this mid, they can make a push over on Swift.
Well, it does look like Swift want to do something. Pappy does take a lot of position on this high ground, and all Eames can really do is spam stickies, but there's 2 areas he's got to be focusing on, so it's going to be so difficult. Now, Demo's getting a little bit caught away. Yes, he won't die, but Eames will, so their ability to contest mid, that's already over now. That's not happening at all, and what we're seeing right now, I feel, is just much more aggression from Swift. They're very willing to go off one pick, and you already saw, after that push, Smizzy and Funds, they were walking towards Cafe like, hey, we'll see if we can find someone else.
Yeah. Or Elektro were playing a little bit scared there. There was some vulnerable targets they could jump towards, but they just didn't want to get proactive. They were just hoping, I guess, to just hold the ground and let Swift kind of make the mistakes. But they're going.
Oh my God! Those stickies.
Was that? Wait, what? What?
I have no idea how that happened. Just out of nowhere, running away, Smear just deads the stickies, and hey, Demos, you've dropped.
Hello, production. Can we have a replay of that, please? A replay would be lovely. Thank you.
Anyway, we will now see Condog walking towards the flank. Fun's a little bit overstaying his welcome on that grass, and it isn't actually guaranteed this is going to go super well, especially with Chris on the spy. It's not really the kind of class you want to have here as you try and protect your medic from this Uber. Air shot misses from Gink there. That could have been so clutch for him.
Look at him. He's just he's rolling with it. He's like, okay, I'm a spy. They know I'm a spy. Let's just pistol some people down. It's like the pistol round in CS, except you can go invisible.
Definitely looks to be looking good for Swift now. They still have more than enough Uber advantage to be walking in here, and with Scruff getting taken down as well. Not looking too good for Elektro. This may well be another round, but like we said, this spy, it's not going to be doing a great deal here. I mean,
the backstab against Gink from the back line. Gink just completely forgot about him, and Chris is kind of denying this medic from healing his team. It's just Demos alive, and would you believe it? Chris Spy won that without actually being secretive.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he wanted to prove me wrong, because that kind of pick, the second you get something like that, someone screams spy, and people are going to turn around. It's going to split their attention, and apparently it's just what Swift needed. So now 2-1, nearly halfway through this map, and a map which Elektro was so confident on yesterday just seems to be kind of almost falling from their grasp.
Let's see if the mids can turn around. They have been adapting their mids over on Elektro, if anything was like the Snake Water game previous, but they will throw both soldiers in. I like this aggression coming out from Elektro. They're following it up with some scout as well, but it makes me worried for the life of Eames and Demos, as they're probably feeling just as much pressure right now. But Eames is surviving. He's a survivor, and so is this flank of Elektro. They compromise the numbers of Swift, and they want to back out. Oh, Smear and Scruff will just take each other out. Well, Smear live.
It's a nice little pipe there as he catches him just as Scruff was moving towards the flank. But again, what we said about aggression does look like Swift want to start trying to do something on mid here. These rockets from Pappy. Will it be enough? It will actually.
Forced the Uber from Demos there. He had to use, otherwise he would have definitely dropped. So no harm, no foul. They're going to not even find the Smear kill, who was a little bit of a free kill there. They throw Chris in to try and get him behind, but that's an optimistic play at the least.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit kind of half committed before he realized quite what was going on. So, I don't think it'll matter too much just yet, because it's a back cap that's going on.
Oh, Scruff! He finds the shot! He finds the sideline onto Connor before he can get his Uber charge involved there. This is a turning point for Elektro. They can definitely capitalize on this.
I mean, once again, Scruff is just saving it for his team. These shots, whether they be body shots or headshots or whatever, they're just absolutely perfectly timed. It just seemed like maybe that was just going to be, a round falling out of their hands, but before you know it, Demos has this big Uber advantage. They just need to build this up, and they will be walking towards
Chris,
this last.
That is some poor, fortunate footpath choosing there, as he's just going in those busy places that soldiers are going to kind of walk into.
Yeah, the sniper pushing from Scruff it's not the best thing, but if he can just kind of stand top right and maybe rattle off a couple shots, it should be pretty good. Smizzy now he's the first casualty to this Uber with a sentry gun going next, and with a lot of time going to point for
didn't
Smiz
see
stickies.
that coming. The stickies were hidden, but they were just as painful. They get a double kill on that point to Aura Elektro. Thought this was going to be an easy round.
No, I mean, I thought so as well until just, those hidden stickies. 2 kills instantly. Smear definitely coming out huge for his team. He's actually almost looked like he was going to chase under demos, but I think he's worked it out. That's not really going to be able to happen here. And, you know, in all of that kind of fighting, Connor did go down. He will just only be spawning. So this is, again, we'll see a heal advantage. We have Chris actually hiding.
Chris just walks around the corner. The walking bomb. It's a good thing there's a bit of a ramp there to kind of give buffer for demos. And Chris will go down to the blob.
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit too early on him there. So it does look like Aura Elektro is going to be capturing second. It does look like they will have another chance with just a little bit of Uber advantage, about 25%. But they've got to build, and importantly, they've got to be fast.
Yep, 13 minutes left on the clock. 2-1 is the scoreline. Need I remind everybody, this is a lower bracket semi-final. This is their last chance here at the LAN event. One team can only continue on to fight off against 7. Who will it be? Who will it be?
Exactly, and it's actually, it does look like Demos may have waited just a little bit too late. Condog is rotating through spawn at 95%. Yeah, Azun is going down before anything really happens. This Uber should be absolutely devastating. This should be almost entirely a complete wipe right now.
Wow, Samzy embarrassing Eames there, just reflecting back all of his firepower and just burning him to a crisp, right, just so easy, it barely even moved.
Yep, so this will now come down to a couple little 1v1s. Scruff overstaying his welcome on lower. Almost trying for the backup, but Chris is too aware, you know? He's been checking his angles, checking his hiding spots. Everything's looking good for him, so will we see Swift try and go for just an off-Uber push here? It's one-player advantage. We saw it earlier, but do they feel the need to when they're already winning 2-1?
Let's see, with 11 minutes, maybe it's a bit early to start kind of parking the bus if you're on Swift there, but it doesn't hurt to kind of go down just one gear, kind of maybe not go pushing out for every single little advantage that you have, and just see if like get a bit of nerves coming out from Aura Elektro. They're going to feel the squeeze at the timer as well.
Swift was in exactly this position yesterday, but they were on the losing side where they were forced to try and make things happen, and, you know, it wasn't really working out for them yesterday, and I think they're almost a little bit content to say, okay, you prove it. Let's see how you play from behind.
Yep. Revenge is a dish best served reheated, so let's see if they can just crack the code that Swift could not figure out for themselves, as both teams are sitting at 100% Uber now. They are going with a double soldier bomb. Gink is going from one end and Azun is from another, but Connor just surfs away. He's on a pretty high health, so he's not really in any real danger, and that's a double soldier loss for Aura Elektro. They could make a push for this on Swift.
They could start at least trying to move somewhere or just provide some kind of distraction for maybe a Pappy play as he takes a little bit of position towards Cafe, but the rest of this Swift combo will be moving towards Valley just a little bit, but I think, again, they're almost content just to kind of stalemate things a little bit. There were some decent spawns on the side of the Aura Elektro soldiers, so it wasn't like they had about 20 seconds to work with. They only had about 10 or so, so it does look like they're just going to, you know, they're going to wait, they're going to be patient. They're not, you know, I feel like Swift have recognized these solo sacks may not be what they want to go for. It's not really going to work out, so they have some time to work out and kind of think of something a little bit more significant.
Okay, so again, another double soldier bomb attempted out by Aura Elektro, and this time they get the double kill without losing Chris, so they're going to feel very confident about going in with this push now.
Yeah, really just crushing, like good stuff from both Smizzy and Funds there, and Condog just playing so far behind his scouts. But in this little push, actually, no, wait, Chris gets in on the flank and actually drops Demos.
Well, there it is. You just don't see it coming. Chris is just that like suave and sneaky. He just gets in from the, I mean, there's only 3 doors. You surely got to take a guess that he's going to come from one of those, but Aura Elektro are just not prioritizing him right now.
No, I mean, I don't know how Chris is doing this. He's just such a driving force behind Swift. He just seems to make these flank plays happen, and it's always when you least expect it.
Yeah. There's got to be some slapped hands, some slapped wrists on someone on this Aura Elektro squad. He's coming in from, again, just 1 of 3 doors. Just look at the doors, Aura Elektro.
If only they had a Drac with them, honestly, it's the one thing they need, just staring at doors. But
Scruff.
yeah, the Scruff sniper's back out again, already doming one of the Swift players, and Connor, he's nowhere near his team. Smizzy and Smir are both really far away from him.
He's Scruff is trying for the ambitious shots, won't land them, but I like the effort. Now, I'm a little worried because I can see Connor somewhat in the area under Scruff's reticle, and let's see if he actually will go down, because Connor just, I don't know, he must have like a magnet in his brain or something, because he catches these sniper bullets on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, it's either that or just, you know, Scruff is really, really feeling himself today. I mean, you don't go this much sniper without really thinking it's going to work, but no, again, Chris gets through choke. I mean, they're so focused on this sniper, and how they're going to make it work that he just jumps straight through.
Oh, they got a couple of shots onto Connor, but couldn't find the head, so again, Chris is not really even flanking there. That was just jumping straight at them, and they were struggling to land some rockets and some pipes onto the boy.
Yeah, it's just, he seems to live so long. There's just something going disastrously wrong with these holds for Aura Elektro, and you know, the second time in about 2 minutes that Demos is dropping here. I mean, you're just throwing away opportunities for your team here. You can't keep doing this when you're 1 round down.
8 minutes left. It's getting tighter and tighter, the squeeze around Aura Elektro's neck, because they're struggling to breathe a little bit, and maybe with this last point as well, they're going to feel claustrophobic on top of that fact.
Drops coming out of everywhere. Scruff again doming Condog. Right, Uber advantage. The way of Demos again. This is just drop city apparently right now.
I don't know why I'm looking at any other camera except the the Scruff sniper cam. I just don't expect these drops to happen. You'd think the players would have gotten used to it by now, at least be a lot more like on sniper scared. But it's just like they're not learning the lessons from 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, it's just a lot of mistakes being made by each team, but you know, hey, if you're reading it and then things are working, you just got to kind of keep rolling with what you know. So again, Demos, he's got his Uber, they have control of mid, they have both Chris and Pappy only just now going to be spawning. Actually, Chris even longer, he will be getting back spawn, so there's an opportunity for Aura Elektro to go on a second, and unless Swift is very careful, potentially even last. But as always, you can't wait forever.
Yep, Azunas is doing a kind of scary jump in, but they can't possibly hold the second point over on Swift with the threat of Uber.
Oh yeah, this is so much better for Aura Elektro. This time, Eames has Scruff with him. He jumps really, really deep. He does take a lot of damage, but eventually will get a flash from his medic. But Condog sitting on 99%. He now leaves spawn. He has got to use his Uber at some point if he wants to keep enough of his team alive. He's got to conserve health and conserve players, but Scruff's actually finding Smear. He'll take him down as well. This is going to be a really, really dodgy 3v3. If Pappy dies here, this will be just truly disastrous, but these arrows coming in just in time.
They needed that Pappy kill there if they wanted to continue that push, and they sadly did not get it. It was some very nice sort of just dodging around the crates from Pappy and some healing coming out from Connor. They're already pressuring the second point now. No threat of a back cap from any Aura Elektro members, so it's just going to have to be an L towards Aura Elektro for now.
Yeah, and I think with how much damage has been dealt already, actually no, deep bomb in on Condog, but no rockets are going to hit at all. It's going to be Funds decimating Azunas, so yeah, with Aura Elektro this far back, I don't even think it's really worth them contesting at this point. They're a player down, but it looks like they really want to. They do find Chris on a flank, and this is not good for Swift at all. Yeah, they will have a better Uber, though.
Sweet Jesus, Connor has popped his Uber. Ladies and gentlemen, pop the cork, get the champagne. We are going to see an Uber fight between these two teams, and it's actually going Aura Elektro's way. They're just ducking and diving this Uber so much better. Maybe that's why he never wants to use an Uber. They're just a bit poor.
Definitely seems like, I don't know really how they were in that 6v5 position and they managed to kind of lose it, but now exact same again, you know, they're walking out through Shutter. Logically, Eames should just be able to lock them out that shot, but with the damage he's taken from both of these Swift scouts, it's so dodgy.
This is a very greedy attempt to kind of defend this over on Swift here. They can heavily get punished, but Aura kind of giving them positions here. They had some high ground for 3. There we go. The kills are slightly turning the way now, but the longer that it gets played out and as much ground as they give them as well, they're not going to get second at this rate. But most teams should do.
Yeah, it did seem like Demos was just a little bit far away from 2 of his teammates. I mean, they really, really needed his heals, but he was already quite far away with Eames. It's nice to stay alive, but he couldn't pump the heals in, and ultimately, I think that's what may have lost them that push.
4 minutes left, 1 round a difference, but they do have them on their half of the map, so it could come if in 20 seconds time, it could come in 4 minutes time. It could never come as well. Let's see if Aura Elektro can finally just close out this round.
Yeah, I think they wanted to go for some kind of bomb there on the side of Elektro from Valley, but...
Oh, Demos pressured with a lot of like pipe spam. Will back off and respect the smear spam.
I mean, this would be really disastrous for either team to drop at this point. For one of these plays to really, really work, regardless of which team. For Swift, obviously, you know, that would almost result in an equalizing point for Elektro, and if obviously Elektro drop, this might just be curtains for their time in this tournament.
Yeah, but I mean, usually the drops have been down to a sniper play from Elektro. Unfortunately for Connor here, there is no sniper kind of around. Connor will keep himself alive. Does get a little bit of like pressure, but that was just one soldier bomb. They didn't expect that to work particularly well for Elektro.
No, Chris did do a little peek on the flank again. This time he didn't work his magic quite, you know. He got pretty far and he did live, and now he's going to jump, try to get through choke again, but kind of, you know, jumping in and out, he's still living. That's a really, really important thing. It's keeping Elektro pressured so they can't just kind of feel comfortable. They've always got to be thinking, where is Chris? Where is Chris?
Oh.
And he's going to be doing enough damage to force Demos again.
Yep, Demos I had to use there. There was so much spam coming in. I was feared that he was actually going to drop, and Demos has got nowhere to run because they just use their Uber kind of as an aggressive move over on Swift to find that Demos kill, and with the heal advantage, they just need to play around Connor. They find the Eames kill, but that was a trade with Pappy. The scouts are starting to get to work, and look at them. They are chasing down some of these kills. They just need to focus fire on this Elektro team, and they will take down Funds as well. Where was Chris during all this?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy how that all happened, but Condog did just about manage to leave. I really thought there was going to be a player chasing him, but it seemed like they were content just to pick up Funds there and guarantee that second cap. So Condog did live. It's not absolutely disastrous. It's not like Swift have a significant Uber disadvantage, but nor do they have an advantage. But now we're getting to about 2 minutes 10. You know, it isn't huge danger time for Elektro, you know? Yeah. They're going to have equal Ubers. They're going to be right outside of their enemy's last. All they really need is one round at this point.
Yep.
And they can guarantee going to Golden Cap, but, you know, that's much, much easier said than done.
Both teams are kind of scared of this sort of game state. It can go really either way for both of these. 1 minute to go, 50 seconds on top of that as well is perfectly enough time to kind of park the bus, force Team Swift, but it's also enough time to kind of facilitate some of these push attempts from Elektro. Fortunately, they've got an Uber charge to delay more time for Swift.
So we will see this movement from Elektro again on the left-hand side from the attacker's point of view. There's a gun, there's a pyro, there's a lot of things they have to try and deal with. Their spamming isn't really going to be able to do anything with this air blast, so you got to think, are they just going to go for this trade? And it looks like they will. A little bit better than Uber for Condog, and it's as long as Eames can get out, this is important. That gun is down. They can go for this left side repush, but Swift is going to know. This is going to be so telegraphed at this point. They've seen this 1,000 times. It's all about getting enough spam through this doorway that Elektro can't just get in for free.
Yep, with the Ubers taken out in a heavy weapons guy, I'm really struggling to see the win condition that they can pull off here over on Elektro to take him down. He's got just so much health, and they can't even get into the fight, let alone bring the fight to Team Swift, and they really need Eames in this sort of like initial push in. Get some pipes onto the Fat Man.
Okay, so now this is 40 seconds. They do have spawners coming up right now, and if they're really, really lucky and they go really fast, Connor won't quite have his Uber. So this is their time. They have to go the second that their soldier and scout arrives, which is exactly right now. Demos, he's on 95%. They need to be already going. They need to be moving through top right. This
now.
Uber needs to be used, otherwise it's just going to be way too late.
Oh, what a disastrous start. They've been juggled already. They're going in. The Uber has been caught up in time. Eames is going to get minced by Funds and the sentry gun. Demos is even going to go down as well. There goes the heals. There goes maybe another soldier. Gink is going to go down. They're going to suicide Azuna's in, because why not? 6 seconds left. The GGs have been called by both of these teams. It's a heartbreak over best of 3.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what a map from Swift. It wasn't the cleanest again. You know, same as Snakewater. It wasn't super, super clean. It wasn't purely dominating, but going from a 5-2 loss yesterday on this very same map to a 2-1, and, you know, they really did force Elektro to try and make something happen playing from behind, but they just couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Swift though. They've clearly hit the books, hit the demos, and I mean, literally and figuratively,
yes.
they've went back and did the homework, and then they realized, wow, this demo guy just wants to die, or as much as possible. So they're going to keep making that happen with Chris just pushing this flank 24/7, and Chris is just that kind of player you can rely on that Swift squad to kind of abuse these loopholes.
Yeah, I mean, he was making absolutely huge plays, and even when Chris wasn't necessarily getting the drops or the forces, the way he moved around the map, it would be a case of, he'd pressure, but then he'd jump away. He would live in a lot of these kind of, these pressured situations, which just, it makes things so much easier for his team. You're never having to play that 5v6 and suddenly have to worry about things. And it just makes things so annoying for Aura Elektro. They're always, wondering, right, is he on this flank? Is he on that flank? Where's he going to be coming from? Why can't we just kill him?
Yeah, it's usually a trait of a really good soldier. Usually a atypical low roaming soldier would just kind of jump in and hope for the best, kind of a coin flip scenario. And of course, there are places in TF2 for the moments like that, but good roamers will kind of realize, like, okay, my start isn't good. I'm probably not going to get this the rest of this sort of bomb out and carried. I can just spend another rocket and just jump straight back out.
Yeah, exactly. Those full commit bombs where you just go deep and just hope to deal big damage, it's not always what you want. And in games like this where you know how good these players are, how good these scouts are at denying these soldier bombs, sometimes, even about halfway through a jump, you see that actually this isn't the opportunity I thought it was. You can just back away, and it seems like Chris has a really, really good read on that.
Yeah. Sadly, this hasn't gone to a third map. This is over. They've won it in a clean 2-0 sweep for Swift, so we should congratulate them. They're going to be going off into the lower bracket finals against 7. And Aura Elektro, sadly, we're going to have to say goodbye to them as their LAN journey is finished here at I63, but to the best of them, because they've had like a pretty good tournament.
Yeah, no, they've done a lot better than I think a lot of people were expecting, and just individually, like, their players have made so many fantastic plays. I mean, you've kind of seen over time that they are the more inexperienced team. They do kind of, lack a bit of some of the in-depth knowledge that some of these older Prem players, do have an abundance of, but you can't really argue with that performance.
But, I mean, now we have to kind of ask ourselves about the upcoming matchup with Swift having, somewhat comfortably, but still kind of close, take this map over against Aura Elektro. Are they going to feel prepared? Are they ready for a team like 7 or Eeply?
I mean, it's obviously going to be incredibly difficult. This Swift roster's played 7. They played them before in the season at least, I think, 3 times in the upper bracket, in the grand final, and just in their regular week game. And every single time, 7 looked pretty strong. They did manage to take a map, I believe, in one of their best of 3s, but in the grand finals, everything went the way of 7. So I think they're going to be nervous. And I don't know, I would always maybe think that based on how scrappy that game was against Aura Elektro, they're going to have to spend this time between now and the next game at 4 o'clock to just be like, okay, that was the Aura Elektro game. We managed to work out what we needed to do differently against them. What are we going to have to do differently against 7 that we haven't been able to do so far for the last kind of month or so?
Well, let's look at the positives that Swift get from doing this. Because they started today and played like an early map, done and out of the way, they've got some actual practice of TF2 in. They've gotten kind of warmed up, a little awakened, while 7 are probably just kind of rolling out of bed now. And I doubt there's many teams that are feeling like playing some coordinated high-level TF2, because at this point of the tournament, when you're getting like 1, 2, 3 teams still playing, nobody wants to scrim now. They want to head to the bar.
No, exactly. And importantly, because the kind of these kind of Swift and Aura Elektro teams will have been playing this game right now, it isn't even like 7 would have been able to scrim anything other than the kind of bottom 4 teams. So it's not that same kind of high-level practice you could possibly be getting. And, like you said, on the side of Swift, they went into that first map and they were a little bit kind of uncoordinated. Their team play wasn't quite there, but they were really, really getting it together at the end. And, if you play against a team like 7 and you're a bit uncoordinated, you're going to lose round after round after round, and that's going to be really dodgy. But now they've kind of already been through that dodgy stage. They managed to come out the other side, having won those 2 maps. So, they've kind of fixed things. So against 7, they should be looking much, much better than if they'd kind of, gone in without as much preparation, and this was their first game of the day.
Yeah, and, man, it does kill me that I'm not going to see one more last look at Aura Elektro ever again here at this LAN. If I had one more wish was just to hear their voices one last time.
I think that's a lot to ask for, honestly. I mean, let's say if there was someone like, the voice of Eames. He's been my co-caster in various little TFTV things. I think he's a pretty knowledgeable guy. If only you could have some kind of chat with him. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if production has that power anyway. It is a lot to ask for.
Okay, maybe if we just like cross our fingers, close our eyes, maybe we'll get that wish. Just, or Elektro, please. Just
Cross your fingers.
cross your
There
fingers.
we are. Here we go. We have our boys. We have Nevo and Eames. How are you doing, guys? Commiserations for the loss.
Yeah, thank you. We're really proud of this loss.